Fantasy is silver and scarlet, indigo and azure, obsidian lined with gold and lapis. Reality is plywood and plastic, done up in mud brown and olive drab. Fantasy tastes of jalapenos and honey, cinnamon and cloves, red, rare meat, and wines as sweet as summer. Reality is beans and tofu, with ashes at the end. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fluffenhammer. Roll the music!
First here, then there. Wake up your mind already!
Death is close.
I love the death. Frequently.
You have already lost.
That was a profound one today, Adam.
I have a list of these that I got.
Where did that come from? That sounded slightly Pratchett-esque.
Actually, no, it's George R. R. Martin.
Is it George R. R. Martin? Wow, that sounded like it could have been the opening of a Discworld novel.
No, it's weird actually. I've kind of stayed away from doing Discworld ones, and I think it's purely because I don't want to do a shitty job of it.
Yeah.
I have
There's
no
a
issue
reference there,
with getting my size 10s all over with George R. R. Martin because it's alright, you know.
It's one of those things where, like, you know, I watched Game of Thrones. Everybody watched Game of Thrones and had fun with it. But coming to read the books, it's like I understand why people enjoy these. I really do. I get the appeal, but it ain't for me.
No, it's they're decent.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with them. No. There's nothing wrong with them at all, and I appreciate the world building. I really do appreciate the time that's been taken to create all of these families and this elaborate back history and whatnot, and the historical references that it pays, which are huge, you know. Yeah. It's just not my kind of fiction. It doesn't do it for me. It's certainly not my kind of fantasy.
I actually prefer Martin's blogs and non-fiction writing to his fiction writing.
Right. He's quite fun on Twitter.
Yes, he is.
He is quite fun on Twitter.
The picture of him that he put up of himself in a giant hamster ball.
Right.
It just said, I'll get round to writing the next book at some point. And then there's just a picture of him rolling around in a hamster ball. It's so good. Anyhow, I'm Adam. That's George. And that's Andy.
Hello. Hi.
I actually pointed.
Pointed at what?
Just generally pointed.
Into the ether. Just like that, you know, that's the spectral warp projection of George. That's the spectral warp projection of Andy.
Maybe he has two little minis painted up on his desk that represent us.
Avatars.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. I like that. Avatars.
I can neither confirm nor deny my Warcry band based around people from the Fluffenhammer.
Brilliance.
Andy's made out of a goblin.
Hey! How many goblins?
7 goblins, because you're very tall.
7?
It's true.
Wow. 7?
There's 7 goblins on each other's shoulders wearing a giant mac.
Right. I like the idea, the notion that maybe you actually think that sort of reflects a kind of Andy reality. That's what he actually is.
I believe that Andy is 7 goblins in a jacket, yes.
In a jacket,
He's goblins all the way down.
All the way down.
Not just half the way down. All the way down.
All the way.
All
the way down to the bottom. Goblins.
Where I have my little goblin shoes on.
What's with all the cosmic existentialism going on as well? We've actually paid references to lots of different mythologies already.
Well, we're gonna say it's a Sunday, you know.
Inadvertently, you know.
I like to think that because it's been a couple of weeks since we've all recorded, the dam is just full. You know, and it needs to burst open. It needs to explode. And the moment the record gets pressed, it just goes whapa, and entire villages are just wiped off the face of the earth. You know,
just with allegories and metaphors and references that nobody else will get.
Yeah, it's just words flying out of me as if they were high pressured water. You know, it's occasionally you'll see a smashed apart cow fly by. You know, that's going to be it. This is what our words will do. If you're listening to this, run before the floods take you, sir.
It's your very own Ragnarok.
It's like a bad late 1990s disaster film.
Or Dante's Peak.
I'd like Dante's
Oh,
Peak.
don't
That's
shit on
kind of what I was
Dante's Peak.
thinking
That's an
of.
amazing film. It's so good.
Hang on. Dante's Peak, and then there was
Volcano.
Oh god, actually, which is better of the two?
I like Dante's
Peak is
Peak more.
probably a better made film, but Volcano
Twister.
is fucking stupid.
It
Twister
was.
is great. Twister is a
Twister's
wonderful film.
hilarious.
Yeah. Then you,
I like the whole notion of it's the evil tornado chasers. It's like they ride a black truck. It's like it's so stupid. It's the stupidest thing on the planet, but it is fun.
what else did you have? You had Armageddon and Deep
Obviously
Impact.
the big one, the one that really put them on the map was Independence Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is no less stupid than any of them, by the by. It's monumentally stupid.
Absolutely.
But it's very well-meaning and it's lots of fun.
Yeah, it's just a perfect popcorn movie. You go into Independence Day knowing full well that what you're going to get is silly.
Even as a kid, I was like, when it came to the notion that like they can upload a computer virus to the alien spaceship, so that the aliens are using Windows and Wi-Fi.
No.
That's
They're
brilliant.
using Windows 95 and
Brilliant.
they're using direct transfer because Wi-Fi doesn't exist.
Absolute brilliance. I just like
we're predating everything but LAN cables at this point.
you throw up your hands, don't you? At that point, it's like, this movie does not give a shit.
See, I didn't throw up my hands because it was the first movie that my mum took me to that was a 12, and I wasn't 12 at the time.
Oh,
So I think I was like maybe 10 or 11, I would guess. I can't remember offhand, but I was just like, this is amazing. All the explosions. The dog
was
survives.
amazing. And the dog. Oh my god, yeah, that.
He deserved to survive. He was a good dog.
Wow.
Will Smith punched an alien in the face.
He did.
Welcome to
he
Earth.
did.
I love the fact he punches it and then forgets to put the T and the H at the end of Welcome to Earth. So if you watch it, he just goes, Welcome to Earth!
And what I find funny is I suppose the film that like kick-started that trend of like the really big disaster movie probably would have been much earlier. It probably would have been Jurassic Park. But Jurassic Park is so much better than any of them.
Oh, yeah,
it's so much more brilliant and well done,
I've had this conversation a couple of times. You've got to remember that Jurassic Park has a 3-minute sequence that's entirely based around a board meeting.
Right.
That exists in this film. And then you flash forward to the next couple of years. You've got Independence Day, which has the bit around the bin where they're talking about recycling, and it then you've got Lost in Space, which was certainly an experience. And then you have what came after that, Godzilla.
Oh, yeah.
God.
None of these films are as interesting as Jurassic Park because Jurassic Park took its time in doing everything.
Yeah.
Well, it decided it wanted to be a movie rather than a spectacle.
Yeah. I would say it manages to do both.
Oh, it totally does both. But its primary thing is to make a good film and then also be a whimsical Spielberg experience when Spielberg was still doing more good than bad.
Yeah.
It still looks great as well.
It does, yeah.
It still looks amazing. That the mingling of very early CG with robotics and puppetry works so well. So well.
Have you ever seen the footage of the T-Rex going into spasms because the water gets into the hydraulics?
Yes, it's brilliant.
Oh, terrifying. Right, shall we get on in proper and talk about things?
Shall we actually talk about like Games Workshop on this Games Workshop podcast?
Before we do, though,
Nah.
I have a question. And the question comes from Mr. Pot on the... I love that name, by the way, because I get the idea Mr. Pot's actually a gnome that's found its way into our Discord server, and he sits there and he just whittles questions out of mushrooms.
I think Mr. Pot would be a good Gloomspite Git name.
Actually, it would, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would.
Miss-
Very specific as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Mr. Pot the Glass Thief.
Mushrooms everywhere.
Mushrooms everywhere. Mr. Pot asks, what is your favourite non-GW wargaming system? Now, I realise that this may be a difficult question for for us, but I could answer at least 3.
I don't.
Whoa.
I don't think I bother that much with many other wargaming systems. I'll be honest, because for me, it's always the background that gets me. It's always like the narrative element of them. I'm more outside of Games Workshop's universes. I'm more into role playing
Yeah.
than wargaming. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't really do a lot of other tabletop wargaming.
Well, what about change the question then, and instead of gaming system, what about lore? Then, since that's more your cup of tea.
That's probably better, to be honest. I could answer that. I mean, in terms of lore, again, I'm not that interested in many of the wargaming system laws. They're just not really my cup of tea. But in terms of the RPGs, I mean, I love D&D. D&D because of how flexible it is. You know, the lore is so open in D&D. You can make it exactly what you want it to be.
Yeah.
You know, it shifts from game to game. If you want a horror game, you can make a horror game. If you want a silly sort of Monty Python skit, you can make a Monty Python skit. I love that. Love that to bits.
I do have to point out, by the way, George, do you remember I did a little video based on something that you said, where we Monty Pythoned a load of orcs with a Primaris vehicle? Yeah, that's the 3rd most viewed video on the Fluffenhammer channel now. So
Right, okay.
I just want to point out that thanks, George, for that one. Yeah. So.
Right, so anytime a Monty Python reference comes up, it kicks the views up.
Apparently
Must remember
so.
that.
Yeah,
Must remember that one.
Yeah,
Monty Python in the tags, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hashtag Monty
I like the Lord of Vampire the Masquerade. That's a pretty cool lore.
I've never got away with White Wolf.
No, you're not a fan of White Wolf, are you?
No, I'm not. It's between that and Werewolf the Apocalypse. I always find it to be a little bit too try-hard.
Oh, it is very sort of like, it's so over the top. It's so over the top, and it is the Vampire the Masquerade background is designed to target a particular kind of kid, and I was that particular kind of kid, you know. So yeah, that was fun for me. Beyond that, it's mostly video game lores that I'm into. So like, you know, stuff like Bloodborne, Dark Souls. Those are just, well, go watch Vati Vidya's videos and you understand.
Well, here's a question for you then. Which would make a better RPG, Bloodborne or Dark Souls?
Bloodborne.
Okay.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, Dark Souls would be great as well. The problem with Dark Souls is it's a dead world. It's a dead universe you're operating in. There's very little like interaction. Most people are dead already. Even if they're up and shambling around, they're dead. Bloodborne, on the other hand, you could really get away with because it's cyclical. So there is a suggestion of a period of time where things are not going to hell. You know, there's an entire city, there's Yharnam, so there are people that you can talk to. In terms of RPGing, then Bloodborne is definitely has more legs than Dark Souls does.
Yeah. Okay. Andy,
I would say anyway.
Andy, what about yourself?
For gaming systems, obviously, I can't go down that road, but I can go for gaming lore systems, I suppose, and I'd probably pick up BattleTech.
Oh yeah.
Because hey, it's guys and girls in giant robot mech suits shooting each other, which I always thought was pretty cool. And it got me as a kid when BattleTech had the cartoon on. And obviously Mech Warrior 3, I think. All that stuff was right up my alley. And I think helped me get into, obviously, Gundam later on, even though Gundam was way beforehand in terms of its creation, but in terms of it being brought over to the West, it was a lot different. The universe of BattleTech's quite interesting, but I think most people agree that it only gets really good when the clans invade. Like pre-clan stuff, it's okay, and post-clan war stuff, it's okay, but it got a bit directionless after that.
Yeah.
Right.
I like giant robots, and they've got lots of them, so that's all good for me. What about you, Mr. Gruff?
Oh God, how do I even begin to answer? Shadowrun. Yeah.
Oh God,
love Shadowrun. Always had
Shadowrun's brilliant.
Shadowrun's fantastic. Shadowrun's one of the Shadowrun is one of those ones I don't understand why it's not the top of the charts constantly.
Right, yeah, it is brilliant. It is an absolutely brilliant system. Does it still get made, or is it like?
It's still going. Still going.
Wow, because the stuff I remember from Shadowrun is like the earlier stuff, where it's like so out of date now. So out of date. Oh, you can have a mobile phone with a camera in it, and it's sci-fi. Sci-fi.
I mean, the stuff that I love in Shadowrun is having a giant orc that's or an ogre that's a tech wizard. But he can't get to the do all the little fiddly bits because his fingers are too big. So he has to have like little robots coming and doing the work for him and stuff like that.
So silly.
Oh, I love it so much. I mean, the spirit of the dog. The spirit of the dog, I think, is one of the best things in the world. Where this little terrier will come up to you and give you a quest. And vanish into the wind. It's wonderful stuff.
Awesome.
How was the PC game? Because there was a Steam game within the last 3 or 4 years, wasn't there?
If you have not played that Shadowrun PC game, play it.
Is it good?
It is it's probably the last game I've 100%ed.
Oh wow!
Wow! Right. Okay.
I mean, it must be over 5 years old now.
Yeah,
5-6 years old. But there was 2 of them. The first one's the better of the 2, but there's not much between them. But it is absolutely top notch.
Right.
How would you describe the gameplay or how it flows?
It's an RPG.
Does it play like Baldur's Gate, something like that?
Yeah. So if you're kicking around on the in the world, it's a Baldur's Gate style RPG. So you are walking around doing all the stuff, and then when you go into combat, you have a turn-based XCOM style.
That's
system.
interesting. So it's like mixing the Western style and like the almost the JRPG style.
Yeah. And it works really well. It's also some of the best writing I've ever seen in games. It is. There are moments of that which are horrific and proper made me just want to crawl through my chair using only my shoulder blades. Right the way through to absolutely hilarious. The entire sequence when you're trying to find a homeless man's trousers is amazing. But I mean, the game itself is just wonderful. It was so good. I honestly think that that's the last game that I played from start to finish, non-stop.
Right, that's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, obviously time goes on and I don't have the time to play video games as much as I used to, unless it's Minecraft, and that's literally just to calm and relax.
Yeah.
I didn't know you played Minecraft.
Yeah, I've played Minecraft for like 15 years.
Oh, wow.
I've never stopped playing Minecraft.
Oh, my God.
I've got a 360, and all it does is play Minecraft and Fable.
God. The fact that people can even say that I've been playing Minecraft for 15 years makes me feel a bit weird.
Yeah, it's probably not 15 years. It's probably 11.
It's still, it's enough, isn't it? It's enough. It's over a decade, yeah?
Oh, yeah. I mean...
Yeah, that's weird. That's just really weird. I must have asked this already on the show, but have you guys ever played Paranoia?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Oh, that's so much bloody fun.
Yeah.
As an RPG, trying to keep friend computer calm and placated,
The latest version of Paranoia that's out interests me greatly.
I haven't seen the latest one.
There's 3 ways to play, and you have either the direct straight down the middle, like this is going to be a horror game where you will do all these things and horrible things will happen to you. Then you've got the middle, which is going to be a little bit of both, and then you've got the basically drinking wackaday juice out of a clown shoe version.
Right.
Yeah,
just like how elaborately can the computer kill the players, essentially?
It's not even that. It's the situations that you find yourself in. In this version, they'll be quite dark, grim, and gritty.
Yeah.
Ranging right the way through to they will be absolutely ridiculous. You will have to kill a man to get his mop.
Yeah.
Because Paranoia is always kind of swayed back and forth. The version I've got is the 1989 version. Was it the 91? No, it's the 91 version. Sorry, and it's wonderful. It's so stupid, but what else can I think of? Gamma World. Gamma World is beautiful. If you've not played Gamma World, the idea is
I don't know Gamma World.
All reality has smashed into one, so anybody can be anything, and probably is. The highlight of that being a character that was an eldritch god stuffed into a fairground ride dodgem tank.
All right.
His name was Nalonatha Tank, and
right.
The cool thing about it is that in Gamma World you roll attributes, so you could roll giant, tentacled, ancient, and mechanical, and that's how you get Nylonother tank. There was another one that I saw, which was they rode giant squirrel and hairy, and it was a Sasquatch with a pouch, and every time you opened the pouch, flying squirrels flew out of it.
All right.
What was it like, connected to the dimension of squirrels or something?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it was just,
Brilliant.
Wow.
Absolute brilliant.
but it was the high pressure dimension of squirrels. So every time you opened it, the pressure would just shoot squirrels out of it. I can't remember. There's a wonderful Let's Play of Gamma World called Gamma Crawl. And if you want to go and just kill yourself laughing, go and listen to it. It is
Right, I may have to have a look at that.
beautiful. There is just absolute stupidity in that thing. I love it. But outside, like tabletop wise, I tried War Machine once. I'm sorry. I couldn't get away with War Machine. I preferred Hordes, but wasn't a fan of War Machine. Flintlock is wonderful, purely because it's the story of Sharp, but Sharp is a orc.
Okay.
What else is there's too many, to be honest
No,
with you.
yeah.
But I think the one at the moment which I really like is Frostgrave. Frostgrave may be the pinnacle of skirmish gaming.
Wow.
Right, okay.
I think it's far and beyond everything skirmish-wise I've played from any other company. Frostgrave is superb.
But
Like on a
why?
technical level, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, the lore-wise, there's not a huge amount there to play with. But as a mechanical system, it is absolutely superb.
Interesting.
And of course, the way that you make your warband is that it doesn't matter what they are. It's the skills, attributes, and powers that they have to build the warband. For example, my brother has both a undead clown warband, but he's also got a technomancer band that's come back from the future.
Right, okay.
And my ambition in life is to have a hedgehog barbarian warband. So it's just great big Conans, but they're all hedgehogs. That's my ambition in life.
Okie dokes.
So that's my answer.
Hang on. Did the hedgehog barbarians rub poo on their bodies for their war paint?
Well, how else do you get the woad?
That's that's a fair point.
Silly question, Andy.
Yeah, well, I wanted to see how accurate they were to real hedgehogs, apart from being giant and barbarian-sized.
I'll also just quickly fire this question out because I thought it was quite a good one.
Okay.
What Primarch did the authors of the Horus Heresy do their best to change your mind on, but your opinion has not budged or got worse? For me, it's Conrad Kurz. He started thinking he was a massive edgelord, and by the end I found him so edgy that if he turned sideways, he'd vanish. That's from Felix the Human on the Discord.
I'm going to press X for doubt on that name.
But you don't believe he's human?
No, I think if you say you're human, you might not be human. Sniff, sniff,
Well,
squeak, squeak.
he
In
is
case of,
Australian. He is an
Thou
Australian.
dost
So
protest too much. I get the impression this is a cyborg or something.
I believe he's a kangaroo spider.
Oh my god.
He's from down under. He's a kangaroo spider.
I am listening with my human ears.
What up, fellow humans?
I am feeling human emotion.
Is that your best impression of Thingy from Facebook?
Where?
The guy who owns Facebook, whose name's gone out my head.
Oh, right, okay.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, doesn't matter. God. But yeah, I mean, was the question like what
So, which
Primarch have you done
Primarch?
best by? Or
No, what Primarch do you feel that the writers put a load of effort into changing your mind on, making into someone that you cared
Oh,
about,
right, but it didn't work.
but it didn't take? Yeah.
Oh, that's hard to say because I would kind of say Lehman Russ, but they didn't. I don't know whether they did put a lot of effort into trying to change my mind because he's a massive dick in every incarnation.
Yeah.
He's just awful, isn't he? Throughout the Horus Heresy, he is like you can't even number on the fingers of both hands the amount of people he annoys and has a vendetta with. You just can't.
No.
It's a difficult one, that.
I can give you a list of Primarchs that became vastly more interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean,
definitely.
Ferrus
Yeah, I could
Manus.
definitely. Yeah.
Ferrus Manus went from somebody I did not give two damns about to, Well, he's interesting.
Yeah, definitely. There are loads, actually, that they did change my mind on. Lorgar's the biggest one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lorgar's the biggest one. I mean, Lorgar, the way he was represented in the background up until the Horus Heresy books, which is just as a frothing fanatic, a zealot, intolerant zealot. He, represented everything I hate in humanity, everything I think is the very worst in humanity. Ideological extremism, intolerance, all that kind of thing. Actually, when he was written by Aaron Dembski Bowden in The First Heretic, he's this considered metaphysician. He's not a frothing fanatic at all. It completely changed my perspectives on Lorgar. I like him a lot. I like him a lot throughout, actually, throughout the heresy.
I'm trying to think of an answer myself. Andy, is there any that jump out for you?
I was just going to open up more of what George said and just say the Space Wolves. Just all of them.
Yeah, whenever I don't know what it is about. I can only think at this point it's intentional, because they should have, if they intended to soften the Space Wolves or make them more sympathetic, they clearly could have done it.
Yeah,
because they've done it with loads of the other characters. They managed to do it with Angron, for God's sake, Mm-hmm. But they haven't done it with Russell the Space Wolves. Whenever the Space Wolves turn up, they are horrible.
Yeah,
didn't they kind of try to do it with the Dan Abnett one, the follow-on book from Prospero Burns?
Yeah, there was a 1,000 Suns, which was by Graham McNeil, which is the 1,000 someone, and then Prospero Burns, which is kind of like the same story, but from the Space Wolves perspective.
Yeah, I feel they tried to do something with them to at least show you their point of view, but they still just came across as just dicks.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, they did try to show you what they were doing, from their perspective, why they operated the way they did, but they still come across as massive hypocrites, all the way through. And they have never gotten better. Never.
Here's a weird one for you, then. I'm going to say Horus.
Horus, okay.
Because Horus, when the books kick off, Horus is vastly interesting. He is fascinating. Yeah. But the further along you get, he becomes less interesting. He becomes...
Yeah, that's true.
Any kind of character kind of drifts away from him, and he just becomes the Saturday morning villain. No, that's probably on purpose, but for me, removing those shades of grey that he had at the beginning makes him really quite dull.
It makes him less interesting. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that is true. As chaos saturates his soul, he becomes more malevolent in intent. That's definitely true.
But even then, Sorry, carry on.
No, I was just going to say, I would really be interested to have an Ulanor book where, again, the focus was on good Horus.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Or
what he was like before, yeah.
But the switch happens so quickly. Horus just goes from a multifaceted character to I am now evil Ra. And it's just, boom, there we go.
That's a problem with... Was that Galaxy in Flames?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a problem with Galaxy in Flames, which is just bad, unfortunately.
Yeah. To the point whereby they've done everything in their power to retcon almost everything that happens in it.
Yeah. It was such a bad call to leave arguably one of the most important books in the Horus Heresy to let it become what it did, shall we say.
Yeah, it's true. It's absolutely true. That should have been the pinnacle of those first 3 books, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's where the war kicks off. That's where the war really starts, And it's definitely the weakest of the opening 3. There's no doubt.
Oh, absolutely.
I wish they'd given it back to Dan Abnett.
Yeah, me too.
I get why they didn't. He's a busy man and all that jazz, but it would have been nice for him to finish that trilogy off. Okay, give him a break in the middle and at least let him finish it. But that's not how it went, unfortunately.
No, I mean, Dan's only just come back, really.
Yeah,
exactly. I'm reading the Solar Wars book, Saturnine, that he wrote, and it's really good. It's really good. The sense of scope you get of how... Because, of course, the Emperor's Palace, you think of the Emperor's Palace as a building, and it's not.
Well, it is, isn't it? Just like a continent-sized building.
It's beyond that. It spans continents. It's massive. It's like over a significant portion of the Earth is the Emperor's Palace.
Well, I mean, his bedroom is basically the Himalayas, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah. That's the thing you've got to remember, that his area, his living area, is where the Himalayas are, or were.
So there are portions of the Imperial Palace that don't know what's happening. Because they're on a different continent, they're nations away.
On a complete well, not a complete side note, but something kind of connected. I've discovered something, and I think this is the most wonderful thing in the world, and I think I spoke to Andy about it at some point. So, has anyone else seen the thing about not Marinus Calgar, about Reboot Gilliman trying to work out what year it is?
No, I think didn't we mention this on the last episode?
It's been confirmed, basically. So the reason that they haven't changed it to Warhammer 41k is because Reboot Gilliman...
Marnius doesn't know. Oh, wait, Reboot, he doesn't know.
Gilliman doesn't know. It's somewhere between 38 and 42.
Well, to be fair, a lot's been happening.
Nobody actually knows.
It's hard to keep track.
Yeah.
You know? Especially with, like, you know, you've got an empire that spans galactic space, like the cosmos, so time is relative, you know? So it's difficult to determine exactly what time it is at any one point in the universe, yeah?
Well, I'm not talking about in space. I'm talking this is when he met the Emperor.
So like on Terra?
Yeah, on Terra. Everyone, like, different cults and different areas and different people have different years. Brilliant. Nobody knows what year it is.
Absolutely brilliant. I
How
love that.
amazing is that?
Yeah, that is so cool. And makes sense, given like the sprawling bureaucracy of the Imperium. It makes a lot of sense that nobody's keeping track of this stuff.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, isn't it? Somebody lost 5 seconds every couple of days somewhere, and next thing you know, you've got a millennia out.
Right. So it's not just like, a couple of days out. It's millennia out. That's brilliant. I love it.
So life is basically hell for filing clerks trying to arrange things in numerical order.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, there's a Dantean element, isn't there?
Yeah.
To like the bureaucracy of Terra, definitely.
I mean, I love the idea that on Earth, the year ranges from M38 to M42, and nobody's sure.
Yes, brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant.
This is one of those things that just really made me happy when I read about it. It's like, this is amazing.
That would be one of my first edicts to get that stuff sorted, at least on Earth. Just be like, okay, no, this is the year. Everything else is wrong. We're going by here now. This is 1. We're starting at 1 and we're going from here.
Right. We'll have to change the name of the game system then. Warhammer 1.
Warhammer 1. Does that come after Warhammer 360?
Oh no.
That's how counting works, isn't it?
Right, yeah.
Right, shall we move on to yesterday's stream?
Shall we have a look at what was cracking off?
Well, considering some of the Necrons, I'm saying the answer to that is Andy.
Yay.
Andy was cracking off.
I was.
Because,
oh, well.
Right, should we kick off with the Necrons?
Should we do the Necrons first? Because there's so much.
There's loads.
There's so much. I mean, obviously the Codex. The Necron and the Space Marine Codex are going to define them, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're going to define how they go. And they look fantastic, I've got to say. They look like loads of fun. Big, meaty tomes full of stuff.
Mm-hmm. I firmly believe that I've managed to be good, and I've not been picking up every 40k codex as they've been coming out, because my system of choice is AOS. However, I think I might have to renege on that, because this thing is beautiful. And I don't just mean the rule sets. The rule sets.
No, the way it looks, the artwork and everything is great, isn't it?
Amazing. I mean, this piece of art here, where you've got all the Necrontyrs sort of sitting with their arms crossed.
Yeah.
You look at that and tell me that's not Geiger. Go on, I dare you.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it? And in the background, can you see him? Can you see Zarek? In his little orb of light, and he's connected to so... it's like he's the centre of the Necron universe, yeah?
Yeah.
It's so cool. It's so cool. I mean, they've clearly they've really gone hard on, like, okay, we need to redesign the ethos of the Necrons. We want them to have a slightly different aesthetic. We don't want them to be clean robots. We want them to be aliens, yeah?
Yeah.
Ancient aliens. And that's what you've got. They look amazing.
I'm looking at these new miniatures here, and honestly, I'm having a hard time in not going into this and going, I want Necrons now.
Yeah.
We'll come to the major one in a moment, but I was going to call them the Wraiths, but they're not Wraiths anymore.
The destroyers.
Yeah,
They're a
destroyers.
species of is it Ophidian destroyers or
Ophidian,
something?
yeah.
Because they're snake-like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look great. Like you say, Adam, they are clearly aesthetically designed to sort of key in with the Wraiths.
Mm-hmm.
But they're entirely their own things. They look fantastic. I mean, I know that from a previous Twitch stream, one of the things the designers said was they wanted to make it so you could take an entire destroyer army this time round.
Oh.
It's certainly leaning heavily into that more so than them being a specialized branch.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you can clearly take. I mean, there are destroyer lords. There are the Scorpec destroyers.
Yeah.
There are some of the Canoptech things are destroyers now as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, it clearly it's an entire subculture of the Necrons now, which is kind of fun.
I mean, Andy, when you saw these new destroyers, I mean, were you thinking, yes, I need to add these? Or did you think, I just want the little guy who looks like a pet?
Well, technically, I already have the guy that looks like a pet. It's just a slightly repositioned one, because this thing, whatever, I can't remember what it was called offhand, came in the Indominus box.
All right.
Right.
He's the buffing unit, if I remember, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Right.
it's just a slightly reposed one, which is nice.
It's like a little familiar, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, he's your little buff unit to help everything get a bit stronger. I was surprised to see more heavy leaning on destroyers. And if I could have changed something, I would have liked them not to have the blades on their arm and have something a little bit more unique to them. I don't know, maybe give them giant fork blades instead. Just something a little different to make them stand further apart from the other destroyers that have these exact similar blades. Yeah. But again, they're very dynamically posed. Look, I'm sure again they'll be fine, but maybe a little bit scary to transport just because of the one. Not super thin, but a little bit thin tail that they're standing on. Might be a bit of a worry.
Have you seen the stats for those blades?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't looked at any of the
Insane.
rules.
They're called Hyperphase Reap blades. And I don't know how I don't know whether there's been like a step up for 9th edition in Melee. I think that's clearly it. Because these things have got stats that like a lot of special characters' iconic weapons don't have.
So you read the rules, George. What do you feel that these guys' position in the army is versus the previous destroyers that had the melee weapons?
These guys they are going. I mean, clearly they're going to be melee. They are definitely, but they're also they're sort of like sabotage units because they can tunnel under the ground.
Right.
And emerge in a particular area, like where you want them to be. So they're a bit like certain Tyrannid units that are similar.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
So they're like objective claimers as well. So if you want to rush an objective, they can get there quick.
Very much. And they're tough. They're tough, these guys. I mean, they've got the stats pretty much of a Space Marine, but they've got 3 wounds, 3 attacks, and, they're alongside their living metal, reanimation protocols, all that stuff. So these guys are going to be hard to shift.
Well, you've got a strength 4, and then the Reap Blade gives them a +2 strength. So that strength 6 hitting with a minus...
Yeah, damage 3.
Yeah, damage 3, -4 AP.
These guys can kill characters. You could use them... I mean, a really good use for them would be as character assassins.
I was thinking they'd be really good at tank killers.
Yeah, that too. I mean, certainly like, some of the smaller vehicles, like transports and whatnot, they could definitely have a go at them.
Okay.
I mean, the stuff like the whip coil, every time a melee attack is made against this unit, subtract 1 from that attack's hit roll.
Right.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. They're quite scary. They're quite scary melee units. You really want to shoot them from afar if you can.
But I guess the tunnel ability will kind of negate range for the most part.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Pretty much. And then on top of that, of course, you've got one of the things I loved when they were talking on the Twitch stream yesterday is did you see the bit where they were talking about how the new what are they called? The sort of the protocols, the different like dynastic protocols work now.
Yeah.
Really fascinating. It looks like rather than just being like, how in 8th edition, you just had the different Space Marine chapters, the different Chaos Space Marine legions, the different orc clans, and they were just like, here's the rule for this. And that's the way it works. This is the special rule that goes with this paint scheme. Well, here it looks like the rules for each of the different what are they called in the Necrons? The different dynasties. The different dynasties are two-tiered, and you apply them at different points within the gaming turn. So you need to plan the way you apply them. So it's like you have with the Necrons, what you've got to do is plan ahead, as the Necrons would. They've got a very distinct plan that they have to follow, because that's how they work. You know, they actually encode their followers with particular plans of attack, different tactics. That's really clever. It forces the way you play, and I hope they do that for each of the armies.
I guess we'll find out how the rest of the armies play, because, like you say, the way that they might introduce those things might be unique for each, just to give a bit more uniqueness to how an army will move and play and all that jazz. Maybe it'll be a bit more simple just for the Space Marines, just because that's your bog standard.
Well, I'd imagine the Space Marines will be as it's always been. So you take, like, Chapter X and you get this particular trait or these particular traits. That would be my guess. But with these guys, it looks like they've thought about the dynamic of it and how it functions within the game and forces the way they play to give them a bit of character, which I think is fantastic. I think that's absolutely superb. And I hope they put the same amount of thought into every army and every codex.
That'd be nice. Yeah, that'd be great.
But with these guys, like if with the Ophidian destroyers, on top of all their normal rules, you've also got the rules for the different dynasties. You've got the different command protocols. I imagine you could make these guys into absolute monsters.
I would hope that each dynasty will have like a specialized unit in a sense. So like one dynasty will focus heavily on like buffing and making one specific unit really good. And maybe there'll be like one unit which is like, you probably don't want to take this one because it's not going to be as effective. So to give them a certain feeling on the battlefield. Yeah, that's absolutely it. Give them like a narrative push, yeah? Yeah. I'm sure that'll make min-maxes for tournaments start sweating with either joy or panic to try and get the best build.
I've no doubt. But for me, this whole push towards the narrative side of the game, that for me, that is the best thing that could possibly happen.
Oh, totally, sure.
It really is. I mean, I'm just looking now. The one that really made me sit up and pay attention was the new Cryptex.
Yes, yeah. What, we get another 2?
We get another 2. I mean, I'd assume that we're actually going to get... You know, originally there were 4. There were 4 different types of Cryptex. Way back when the Necrons were first really fleshed out. There were 4 different types of Cryptex. Chronomancers, Psychomancers, Geomancers, and another one I can't remember. And they all had different like elemental powers. They were basically the equivalents of Psychers, because the Necrons don't use Psychers, but they needed them or an equivalent to function, within the game system. It looks like what they've done is brought back those different disciplines, but emphasized them to the nth degree. So back then what you got your bog standard Cryptek, and you applied the different disciplines and powers to them. So within the game, they could do different things. You know, they were described as a Chronomancer, but they were basically the same Cryptek model. Now it looks like they are a different unit. So your Chronomancer is a different unit from your Psychomancer, and they are different models, and they do very, very different things. The Chronomancer, for me, is the best of all the new revealed models for the Necrons. I think they've hit that so hard.
I mean, we didn't get a good list of everything that they can do, though, did we? It was just, didn't we get like one spell or one whatever they called?
Yes, we got a description for what the Chronomancer does. You know that box in his hand that's sort of like flying apart?
Yeah.
It's called a Chronometron, and you can use it to... Basically, a Chronomancer, as his name suggests, his whole shtick is that he manipulates time and probability. Yeah? So you can use the Chronomancer to do stuff. He's a buffing unit. He's basically a buffing unit. So I imagine he's going to have powers that give invulnerable saves, that maybe allow you to negate wounds or hits or something like that.
Increase the speed of, say, your basic Necron infantry would probably be useful, or slow down theirs.
Yep. That would be my guess. Give you lots of re-rolls, you know, on certain things.
The fiction is that they slow incoming fire. So I don't know how that's going to work in tabletop. If I don't know, you can have time to move out the way or something. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah,
it's very cool.
It might just
that
increase
miniature.
your evade, right? Or you save, like George said.
I love the fact he's got like that big cowl on, and there are like different little boxes that are swirling around inside. It's so cool. It's so cool. I think he's so wonderfully dynamic. I mean, I've always loved the Cryptex anyway, because they're basically the Grand Viziers, the Necrons.
Yeah.
They're the court wizards, aren't they? The court magicians, of the Necron dynasties, and that's always a cool thing. They're the powers behind the throne. They are really the power behind the throne, aren't they?
I do have to say that the Psychomancer is one of my favourite miniatures of this year.
I mean, just the elaboration of it. They've done stuff to that miniature that is like the skull, the digital skull thing that's appearing. That it's sort of like its casting is gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's just gorgeous.
Hell to paint, but yeah, it really is. Just, but it's not just that; it's the entire look of him. He doesn't.
Yeah.
The Necron range has really become something other. They've become. These are what Necrons are, rather than these are space skeletons.
Right. What they've tried to do is move them away from the humanoid aesthetic, which makes a load of sense, of course, because why would you stick with one body form? Mm-hmm. If you've got the ability to transfer consciousnesses into any, whatever the limit of your imagination and ingenuity is, why would you stick to one body form? It makes a lot of sense for them to be less humanoid. Yeah,
Absolutely.
And it looks like the Cryptex are going to really emphasize that.
Yeah. I do have to point out, on the Chronomancer, the ball that's on the top of his staff, the fact that they have made it look like it's moving, that it's shifting and spinning, that... How do you even begin to think, what would be really good? I'm going to make it look like there's movement happening in a spherical ball on this tiny miniature.
In fact, that's something that really emphasizes the Chronomancer completely. The whole thing is moving. It's all in motion. Like, his positioning is such that he looks like he's drifting around, in a really kind of disturbing way. The chronometron in his hand is opening, so he's obviously activating that. You've got one tendril coiling around his staff. It's just completely dynamic. It's like a little snapshot.
Yeah, this is what we're starting to see in a lot of these Necrons and... not just the Necrons, actually, in everything. This range of movement, this sense of weight that things have got. It's been incredible to watch.
It is pretty damn cool.
It's that pulling away from the multi-parts kits so they can get the more dynamic poses to them.
And as much as I miss multi-part kits because they were so easy to fit together and fart around with, just look at what you've been able to create. It's incredible.
Right.
Should we get on to the really exciting thing about the Necrons then?
I think I know what the really exciting thing for you is, Adam.
That's right. I want to talk all about the cover for the Codex Necron. I'm kidding, of course. Flayed ones.
Flayed ones, yeah.
Flayed ones.
How many
flayed
years?
ones.
Andy, flayed ones.
I know.
God.
They're not metal. They're not resin.
Oh, look, Andy, flayed ones.
Like, the last flayed ones. When did they come out?
A long time ago. They were metal, and then they were resin.
So are they like the original flayed ones?
I think so. I'm no expert, but I would say probably. I think the flayed ones have had one release. I think.
Oh, jeez. So they must be ancient then.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think there was a second run of them.
Was there? Was there a second? I can't remember. Off the top of my head, I can't remember.
I'm sure there was, but we're still talking 2006, maybe.
Yeah, right.
I know for sure there were no plastic ones, though. Definitely no plastic.
So,
and they looked awful. I mean, let's be fair. Both iterations look pretty terrible. Like they never quite got the notion that they were like draped in real skins. You could never really get that feeling from the miniatures. They looked like they were wearing scarves.
Mm-hmm.
They had a bit of Crypt Ghoul look to them as well, because I think one of them had like a corpse just like stuck on his back.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was very Crypt Ghoulish.
I mean, that's what they're supposed to be, isn't it? They are the 40k equivalent of your Crypt Ghouls, essentially. But God, these new ones are fantastic.
I do have to ask, who is your favourite one?
My favourite one, I like the one that's wearing... It looks like he's replaced part of his Necron skull with a real skull. Mm-hmm. And he's got, like... You can see, like, distinct anatomy in the bits of skin he's wearing. So there's, like, a draped hand
Yep.
hanging from his shoulder. Love him. Love him to bits.
My favourite one is the one that's got the skin wrapped around his head, and he looks like either a character from Assassin's Creed or he's about to ask somebody what they're selling. What you buying? Andy, your favourite?
I was going to say as well that there's a lot of Phantom of the Opera kind of draped flesh over the faces kind of looks going on.
Yeah.
I think my favourite one might be the one that looks like he's got the skin bandages wrapped around his head, but he's got like his little teeth poking out.
Yeah.
He's got a little grin going on. They're all really good though.
They're beautiful. I mean, it makes me wonder, because it looks like the Necrons have got quite a few really good melee units going on now.
Yeah.
So where do these guys fit? What do they do?
I would imagine
you know?
the purpose might be to bog down the enemy, like your zombie unit, maybe, while everything else either piles in and or wings around them, maybe. Because at least back in day, at least in the Dark Crusade game, that's kind of what their purpose was. It was to absorb melee fighters, and you could just kind of transport them anywhere on the battlefield.
Yeah, because they could burrow, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Didn't they burrow underground or something like that?
You teleport them in, and they just kind of pop up from the ground. Mm-hmm. So maybe they'll save that kind of purpose again.
They strike with an AP of -1.
All right, that's pretty good.
Each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack against an enemy non-vehicle, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores an additional hit.
Oh, that's pretty nasty.
Yeah, so they're front, aren't they? They're front and
Yeah.
centre. They go up the middle of the front line and just do a ton of damage.
I can't imagine
yeah,
that they're
that's-
to take on other melee units though, because I can't see these doing well against like the Space Marine
Corn Berserkers.
Yeah,
They wouldn't be good against Corn Berserkers.
or the Space Marine Vanguard dudes with the shields, whatever those guys are
Although,
called.
to be fair, most people in the game aren't good against any of the Space Marine units by the looks of it.
But,
Yeah,
no, that is true.
they'll do well against Imperial Guard though, that's for sure.
Oh, they'll butcher Imperial Guard. Chaos Cultists, chuck them at Chaos Cultists, they'll just like mow through them.
The Imperial Guard really do need to get something.
Oh,
In the
God, they
not too-
need a new codex so badly.
And yeah, this is me saying it who wants nothing but Xenos for this entire run of 40k,
Right.
But the Imperial Guard really desperately need to have something done to them.
They really do. They are, I mean, and I'm a Chaos player, a lot of our armies are long-suffering. The Astra Militaria need a little bit of a shot in the arm in this edition. They should really look at, they should do with them what they've done with the Necrons, They should really look at them in terms of how they function and how they want to represent them on the battlefield, And just go nuts with them. Do something a bit weird with them. Do something a bit more interesting with them, yeah?
There was a rumour kicking around that they're going to try and return the... No, I'm just going to call them the Imperial Guard. I can't say the other word.
It's
The
the
Astra
right name.
Militaria,
No,
yeah.
Imperial Guard. I'm with you, Adam.
I don't like it. I don't like
No.
it. They're the Imperial Guard, damn it. I'm an old man. And the idea of getting back to that idea of having tons of different styles of troops and things.
Right, so like different regiments,
yeah.
they used to have, Instead of all just being from one world, they're like a hodgepodge of lots of different ones.
Which I'd be all behind, because that's what made
So,
the
like,
Imperial Guard
your-
interesting to me.
Your Valhallan Rough Riders,
Yeah.
that kind of thing, yeah? Death Corp of Krieg, all intermingled together. Mordian Iron Guard, Catachans, all that, just sort of like...
Squats.
Don't know what's happened to the Cadians, but...
Well,
Much the squats with the Imperial Guard. Get the monkeys back, the cyber monkeys, put them in the Imperial Guard as well.
Well, I mean, this is maybe something they could do in real terms. This is maybe something they could do with the Imperial Guard to give them just a little bit of an edge. They could introduce other Imperial units. So in the background, whenever the Astra Militarium are fighting, you've got Inquisitors knocking about. You've often got Space Marines knocking about. You've often got Sisters of Battle knocking about. So why not some system whereby you can sort of bring them in?
That would surely just be down to like if has this keyword then can be used in Force. I would imagine is how that would probably be implemented.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Death does it in Age of Sigmar.
In AOS,
Yeah.
Well, I don't see any issue where if you're playing a Imperial Guard, you can take more than your allied allotment of Space Marines or Sisters of Battle or whatever.
Yeah, so some system whereby you can include all of them in the same detachment, so you're not paying any penalties.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that would work rather well for the Astra Militarium, just to give them a bit of a push, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I were doing it for my money, because the one thing I really love about the Astra Militaria is the commissars.
Yeah.
I would focus a lot of the way they function on the commissars, you know.
Well, yeah, because they basically become buffs and anti-buffs, don't they? They would be...
Well, they're the linchpins, aren't
Yeah.
they? They should be the linchpins of the army. They should be marching up and down, keeping everything in check.
Yeah.
That's the way they should work. And it should be about hordes of bodies, ultimately.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah.
Because that's what they are. They're the meat grinder.
Well, it's either the Horde of Body army that you want to go for, or like the vehicle specialized army,
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either kind of focus on there, or maybe you could have like an Ogren focused army. That could be quite nice, potentially.
That would be fun.
I suppose there's nothing saying that you can't have an Imperial Guard Codex and then they do supplements for the different Imperial
That's
Guard
true. Yeah.
worlds
Yeah,
going
absolutely.
forward, and you can just pick and choose from that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. It's a good way of doing it, actually.
Yeah.
We got another... I mean, this is an old one now, but we got another look at Zarek, of course.
Yeah.
And we actually got a look at what he does now. Yeah, they said in the Twitch that he could stand up against Primarchs, and it looks like he probably can. It looks like he probably can. I mean, certainly given their 8th edition stat lines, yeah, that's definitely true. We don't know how the Primarchs are going to manifest in 9th edition yet. Hopefully they're going to get a bit of a bit of a buff because they need it. But this guy is a monster thus far, just going by the stats and the rules we've got thus far, and we still don't know everything he does.
No.
He's probably going to be one of the nastier characters in 40k.
I think he's going to end up just being an absolute monster. You know, he's going to be like toe-to-toe against Magnus type monster.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
there's no doubt. Which makes sense, because he has stood up against gods, literal gods,
Yeah, well, I mean,
and won.
we also... Yes, very much the case. And we also don't know what he's been doing.
Exactly.
This is the big thing. This is why I want this codex so badly. I want to know... But I bet you they don't tell you anything.
No. I mean, one of the things that did come out, it wasn't on the Twitch stream, but it came up on the Warhammer community chat, is that Imhotech is still around.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Imhotech's still around. The Saurek dynasty is still very much in force. They suggested, they said on the Twitch stream, but they didn't state outright that there's probably going to be some politics between Zarek and Imhotech. Because the thing is, Zarek commands the protocols of every Necron. Mm-hmm. Like, he is Nagash. He's basically Nagash. Yeah. You know how Nagash basically can enslave anything that's undead? Mm-hmm. Zarek does exactly the same in 40k. But there are Pharaons and Overlords and whatnot that resist it, that try to sort of strain against it. And I'm imagining that that's how it's going to be for Imhotech and Zarek.
Are you suggesting they'll kind of the other lords like Imhotech, and because they did an article on the rest like Nemesaur and some of the other ones as well, they're going to function more like Manfred and
the Mortarks.
Yeah, the Mortarks. They're going to kind of go down that route with these guys.
I think that's exactly what they're going to do. That's exactly what they're going to do. It's going to be like the re-emergence of Nagash in the end times, when suddenly, there's no infighting anymore, you're all mine now.
Yeah.
You do as I command. I think that's what it's going to be like. That
would make a lot of sense. Everything bows to my will type character.
Yeah. The only one I can see, there are two characters I can see who would probably sidestep that, and that's Trazyn. Trazyn probably doesn't give much of a crap about it, to be honest, because he probably knew that the Silent King was coming back anyway, because he's atemporal. He hops up and down time like nobody's business. So, he probably doesn't care. Illuminor Zeras probably is probably doing his own thing. He's probably already undone any protocols by which Zerak can command him, and he's probably off doing his own thing anyway. So. That's probably okay.
But the others... There's that small side story that was written where he was helping construct whatever the big soul nuke was.
Ah, right.
There was a little side story, and that was him hinting, or at least that story was there hinting about Zarek's return. Mm-hmm. So obviously that can change when he actually does return, and maybe he goes off and does his own thing after that.
Yeah, maybe so. But it is a big event. I mean, the return of Zerak is going to change the dynamic of the Necrons profoundly.
I'm really hoping that the Black Library have got a book of some description set up for his release.
Well, it would be foolish if they don't.
Yeah, I'm desperate to know the story. Yeah,
What he's like.
Yeah.
What is he like as a guy? I mean, you know a little bit about him. You know he's sort of massively arrogant because, of course, he stood up against the Star Gods. And again, won.
I like how you say that as an afterthought.
Yeah, right. So this guy is like... He's the equivalent for the Necrons of the Emperor getting up off the throne, you know?
Yeah.
That's what he is. So this is a big deal.
I mean, do you think that... How do I ask this? Do you think that this is going to be something that shapes Ninth Ed as it goes along, or do you think this is going to be, once the Necrons are out of the Codex is done, his story will kind of be left in the air?
I would think that this is going to be you know how it was the Necroquake in AOS that defined the last edition. I think if I were doing it, I would definitely do it so that Zarek's story resonates across the rest of the range, well into 9th edition. Yeah, definitely. Because he's a threat to everyone, isn't he? He's a threat to everyone. He's a threat to like Abaddon and all the others. I imagine even Comora, I imagine even like Azrael Vect and Urian Rakarth and whatnot are kind of quailing in their boots at the thought of Zarek coming back.
In like a hot way, though, not in like a scared way.
Yeah, because of course they're Dark Eldar, aren't they? They're Drakari, so yeah. And I mean, like the other Eldari are going to be terrified.
It'd be a really interesting story to have Zarek actually invade Comora.
My god, that would be very interesting.
That could be a great little campaign, and just be like that could, if they did go down that route, that could be he's the new Drakari range, and all the models they need for that. That'd be fun.
Can you imagine like Azrael Vect on his Dace of Destruction going up against this thing?
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be good fun, wouldn't it? I mean, I've no doubt when they do the Drakari in 9th, based on this, that's what's going to happen. Azrael Vect is going to be a miniature again.
Ooh,
it would make enormous sense. It would make enormous sense for them to do it.
Because he's their Primarch, effectively, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. He is the equivalent would be the Dark Muse. Yeah, and he is a Dark Muse. He's basically a demigod at this point. I mean, he's died and resurrected himself.
Yeah, true. Very true.
This guy is very difficult to take down. He's not he wouldn't be as powerful one-on-one in combat as Zarek clearly is. But he's more like manipulative. He's behind the scenes. He's pulling the strings. He's anticipating, Yeah.
Once again, I think that would be another game changer if they did bring him back.
Yeah,
I think
it would.
That would be another massive shift in power.
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't just mean on the tabletop. I mean in the lore as well. Yeah.
In the setting, yeah. So if Azrael became active again,
and does that mean that there's going to be too many? I mean, I don't think you can't have too many big guns playing in 40k because of the sheer scope and size of the setting.
Right.
But could it be that there would be too many too fast?
Right, too many like uber powerful entities wandering, because you've had Abaddon obviously, and he's a big deal. You've got the Primarchs, the Demon Primarchs have always got to be an event when they turn up.
Yeah.
Roboot obviously on the Imperial side. Saint Celestine is kind of similar.
Yeah, I realise that saying too fast, too much too fast is a bit of a weird thing when Roboot's been around now for 5 years. But you have something like the size of the Silent King appear.
Yeah.
You can't really have anything else come out for the rest of the year.
That's as significant.
3 years after him, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, that's true. And it does make things difficult, doesn't it? Because if you want to release something else, it makes it hard, yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, it does make me wonder if there are any Primarchs in the works, if anyone else is going to turn up.
Well, I mean, you keep hearing rumours that that's going to happen. And
I only hear rumours of the Demon Primarchs, though.
Yeah, completely.
From what I understand, they're not that interested in doing any of the other Primarchs, like Vulcan or who else could potentially come back? Lehman, yeah. Lionel, obviously.
Well, I keep hearing stuff about
Another Chaos Primarch. Yay.
Oh, well done, sir. Well done.
If they do bring him back, they should introduce some ambiguity. What they should do, they should actually play into that. What they should do, if they bring back Lionel Johnson, bring him back so he's like a big version of the what are they called? The little cowled things.
Oh,
The Dark Angels,
the
Watchers in the Dark. Make him like a big version of that, so nobody knows what's under the hood. Yeah, so it could be Luther, it could be Lionel Johnson. Nobody really knows, and there's something slightly metaphysical about him. So it's almost like a demon Primarch of the Dark Angels.
That would
And make it very
cool.
ambiguous. Very ambiguous. Do you know who's he working for? Who is he? What's he doing? Maintain that aura. You know, that would work so well.
So he could be... Would you suggest that would be the third faction in the Imperial Civil War? Or the Imperium Civil War?
Well, if...
that we keep talking about brewing.
Yeah, right. I mean, if Lionel Johnson turns up, I mean, if any of the existing Imperial Primarchs turns up, it's going to be an event. It's going to certainly upset the politics of the Imperium, because they all have certain... not necessarily beefs, but they certainly have history with Roboot, and I'm not sure they would be so... I'm not sure they'd be as enthusiastic for what he's doing at the moment with the Imperium. Certainly not Lehman Russ.
No, Robo never really came across as the most sociable out of the Primarchs, shall we say.
No, I mean, he's Roboot's a really weird one for me, because he's the one, he's sort of like what Adam was talking about earlier, where I didn't give much of a toss about him, to be honest, because he was very bland to me.
Yeah.
In the background until the HH books, until they started fleshing him out. And now he's actually really interesting. He's much more interesting in the 41st millennium than he was back when, you know? Because he's got all these tensions now. He's woken up to a state of humanity in the Imperium, which is the exact opposite of what his father wanted.
I suppose you could ask yourself then, would the Primarchs, whether demon or not, see Roboot as we see Roboot now, or will they see him as we did before we got those books?
Right.
Will they see him as just a stick up the arse kind of guy, or as an interesting, unique person?
And how would they... I mean... How would they... that's my Facebook, do apologise, my messenger going off. Should mute that, really. But how would... it's the relationships as well between the Primarchs. Like, Roboot and Lionel do not get on at all. They really don't like one another. Roboot does not trust Lionel Johnson. Lionel Johnson regards Roboot as naive, naively idealistic. So what happens when they meet, when they come back together? That would be very, very interesting to see. As you say, I think what they should do, if they bring back any of the Loyalist Primarchs, they should use that as a way of cementing the notion that the Imperium is now not a unified thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think that's what they should do. They should really run with the Imperium Nihilus and Imperium Primaris thing.
Secundus.
Secundus, is it? Is that what they call it
I'm
now?
sure it is, yeah.
Do you think they could bring back Ferrus Manus as some kind of like horrible Mechanicus deity?
It's funny you should mention that, but there are a couple of the HH short stories that suggest exactly that.
Oh, really? Oh, I was joking.
They don't say it absolutely, but they suggest it as sort of like a way in. But yeah, why not? Well, I mean, that would be great fun, because, the original Ferrus Manus, he is not what you expect. He is not this guy that promoted metal above the flesh or the purity of the machine. It was kind of the opposite. He wanted a balance. He wanted a balance between the two. He actually proclaimed that the humanity is necessary, in order to balance out the machine. So having him become the opposite of that is kind of fun.
Yeah, because you could have that existential crisis of him going, oh God, what am I?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that would be so much fun, wouldn't it? You could even have, if they were really clever about it, they could even intermingle like Necron technology with him. So they could use the notion of biotransference.
Blend him with the Void Dragon of Mars.
Oh, God, there's so much fun you could do. There's so much fun to be had with Ferrus Manus. And if they were to bring him back, because I'm a little, like, with the dead Primarchs, I'm a little bit... Maybe they should leave them. Like Sanguinius, I'm a total no.
No, he needs to stay dead.
I don't want Sanguinius ever coming back. I mean, you've technically already got an avatar of Sanguinius in the Sanguinor. So that's fine. I can deal with that. That's fine.
What
Sanguinius
if-
himself should never come back.
What if, instead of he comes back, somebody just digs him up and parades his body around on a stick?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
That's
alright,
fine.
okay.
I can deal with that.
Right?
I can
okay.
deal with
To-
that.
To then go another level, what if someone took his body up, attached it to strings, and then just marionetted him across the battlefield?
You
Yeah,
say that,
I'm
but
sure that would be
that could
fine.
be a really good ploy a demon of Slanesh would do.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm
actually.
thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if they bring him back as like a chaos character, ostensibly,
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
that's kind of fun. Yeah, I can sort of get behind that. Like Night Haunter. Night Haunter should never come back.
No.
He's dead. He's dead.
What could you do with him to bring him back?
Right.
Yeah.
What could you do with him? Yeah.
His
The
entire
only way.
Yeah.
The only way I could see of bringing back Night Haunter and doing it legitimately is by playing with the metaphysics. So they say something like, yeah, he was killed, but his soul was so powerful that it didn't disperse into the warp. And maybe he comes back as like a demon, like a demonic reflection of himself. I can kind of maybe sort of get behind that, like a sort of shadow demon kind of thing.
Yeah.
Beyond that, no, I don't want to see him back. Because of his whole last words, death is nothing compared to retribution.
Yeah.
He dies a martyr for his, however twisted, for his ideology. And that kind of drives the whole character of the Night Lords after that.
I would only want him to come back if he came back as an ideal or a concept rather than a physical being.
Right.
So if it was I don't know, parts of him infested and possessed members of his legion.
Right,
and they
right.
believed themselves to be they believed themselves to be Kurz, and would try to continue what he was doing, continue his work.
Right, so maybe you could have like an avatar of Kurtz, yeah?
Not even like that, more of a like a parasitical infestation. It's
Right, yeah. So it's like the echoes of Kurtz in
Yeah,
the warp possesses one of his sons and
because I think
transforms
even an
it
avatar
somehow.
of him would be too much.
Yeah.
It instead of being a character, there's a rule where
Right.
one of the members of the squad suddenly believes that they are cursed and will run off to do their own thing.
Right. I mean, there are other Primarchs that you can get away with it, like Alfarius and Omegon. Obviously, you can get away with bringing them back anytime you like because it makes sense to do so. But even if they do reintroduce them somehow, it should be ambiguous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, is it them? Is it not? I don't know. I'm not sure.
It's just you've got all of these Alpha Legion and then these two that are slightly taller than the rest.
Right, yeah. I'm Omegon. No, I am. And so is my wife.
And all of the Alpha Legion just wear really big shoes to hide the fact. Oh, man.
I mean, but then again, there are some that definitely have to come back at some point. Obviously, I mean, the big ones, the pressing ones, Fulgrim, for God's sake. Fulgrim, come
Yeah.
on.
You would have thought that would have happened by
Fulgrim.
now. It's weird
Jeez.
that it hasn't.
It is weird. I mean, I would have thought Fulgrim and the Emperor's Children would have been a shoo-in after the release of the Hedonites and the new Keeper of Secrets and all that kind of thing. Like a shoo-in. Angron and the World Eaters, they are, the Space Marines are absolutely iconic of Warhammer 40,000 and Games Workshop. The Khorne Berserkers have become as iconic. People outside of the hobby know what Khorne Berserkers are. Yeah. They know about the bunny ears and everything, So it's moot, isn't it? It has to be done. At some point, there has to be a World Eaters Codex.
What do you think the Angron Demon Primarch should look like? Because, I mean, the old Epic one, he's basically just...
nothing like that. I mean, he should look like the artwork from some of the Horus Heresy books. So he is like a big... raging demon. He looks like a classic demon, but in the Horus Heresy books he's got all of the technological elements as well. So the Butcher's nails, for example, he's still got them in his demonic form. They're a mane of wires and tubes that come out of his head and attach to his back and fall down over his head. He should be a bit more technological than the epic demon, so his armor he should still wear his armor for one thing, but it should be attached to his body and it'll be a little bit more demonic. But he should be big. He should be frightening.
Would
he
you
should
say
be
the armor
really
should grow
frightening.
into him?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. He should be massive.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Angron should be the biggest of the Demon Primarchs physically, no doubt. He should be huge.
But he's so short in real life.
Does he have
He's the
wings or does he not have
shortest.
wings? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
he does have wings.
He does.
Yeah, he
okay.
does. Yeah, big wings.
Yeah.
That sometimes expand to become like big shadow wings, like the Balrog.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So he should be pretty intimidating. And in terms of rules, there should be nothing that can touch him in close combat. Nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
He should be able to slaughter anything he touches. Anything. But I think that's a ways off, to be honest.
I find it strange that they seem to be taking their time with the Demon
Yeah.
Climax, which I can completely understand because you get one chance to getting this right.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely. And it needs to be perfect. And to
Yeah.
be fair to them, the ones they have released are just sublime.
Yeah, absolutely. You know,
They've captured just the essence of them, and they've made them beautiful, you know?
I mean, you know, when they brought out Magnus,
Yeah.
sorry. I thought, well, that's incredible. And then they brought out
Yeah.
Materia, and it's like, oh, right, you can actually go up a level from Magnus. That's,
Right.
Didn't see that coming. You know?
Yeah, they've hit the nail on the head with them. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? They need to be perfect.
Yeah, because even if they went back and did a second version, that first one still exists.
Yeah, it's going to define, isn't it? You know,
Yeah,
it's going
exactly.
to define how people see that character. So,
Yeah.
hopefully, when they do release them, they'll get them like spot on. I mean, I've got every faith that they will. Mm-hmm. Given how well they do the big iconic monsters and miniatures and things at the moment, I have every faith that they will. I'm just looking at the moment of the stuff they released about the Space Marines.
Yeah, I was going to say, shall
yesterday.
we go through the Space Marine codexes?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Space Marine Codex. I mean, it's a bit more de rigueur, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
it's going to be a bit more de rigueur. But this is what really interests me. It's the fact that it seems that they're taking 9th edition as the opportunity to change a few things.
Yes.
To actually alter a few stat lines, make things a little bit more interesting, make them a bit more what they're supposed to be. Because you know what, the Space Marines, I won't say the poor old Space Marines, because they've got the best of everything for like multiple editions thus far. But one of the problems they've always had with the Space Marines, certainly in recent editions of 40k, is that they've always struggled under the same bog standard stat line. Mm-hmm. And it's just gone on for like years and years and years.
Do you
and
know how long back that stat line goes?
it goes back to 3rd Ed. It goes back to the beginning of 3rd Ed.
It goes back to Rogue Trader.
What, that stat line, really?
Pretty much. There's
Wow.
been a
God
couple of
almighty.
changes, but the average bare essential Space Marine stat line has not really changed since
God, that's
My God.
Rogue
pretty...
Trader. How
pretty criminal, isn't it?
bizarre is that? The only reason I know that is I watched the Snipe and Wib, and they pointed it out.
Right, God.
They just looked at it and went, look.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
Well, it does look like what they're doing is taking the opportunity to make the Space Marine Codex like how they're supposed to be,
Yeah.
how they're represented, you know, how they occur in the background. That seems to be the thing. So now, of course, you've got the whole thing of all Space Marines having 2 wounds as standard,
Yeah.
which is a big deal. That's a big deal, but makes enormous sense.
Yeah.
I mean, they're designed so that they can carry on with crippling wounds. You know, they can survive things that would just eviscerate almost everything else in the universe. So that makes a lot of sense. But you've also got this whole thing. I loved this, where you've got like your basic commanders of the chapter, so your chaplains, your librarians, your tech marines, and then you can pay points to have them altered and tailored to different types of chaplains and librarians and tech marines, which makes a lot of sense because that is also a thing in the background where there are different hierarchies of chaplains and there are different circles of librarians, there are different subcults of tech marine. So now you can do that, apparently,
Yeah.
which is really cool. That's something that they need to introduce into every army.
I would agree with that, actually.
Every army.
The
And then, like, the amount of rules it applies as well. So you can take your chaplains and you can upgrade them to Masters of Sanctity, yeah, which are like the high chaplains. They're the ones who preside over the faith of the entire chapter. And there's, like, just this long list of abilities and relics and traits and abilities that they have. It's much more dense than it was in 8th edition, and I kind of love that.
I'd inclined to agree. One of the things that really jumped out at me, and I don't know if you've seen it, but did you see what the Crusade edition is for the Space Marines?
Oh, they showed you a few things about the Crusade system. So they showed you like what you can do with a dreadnought, like even in Death I Still Serve.
Yep, where you can stuff a wounded character into a dreadnought to continue it.
Absolutely
Love it.
Brilliant. So you could have a miniatures range. This is so much fun. You could have a miniatures range that's like the entire history of a key character. So you could have him start as a Space Marine, like a bog standard, like rank and file Space Marine, have him build his way up to becoming a captain, then have him go from being a captain to maybe, I don't know, a chaplain or a commander, then have him mortally wounded, interred in a dreadnought. That's great. I imagine when the Chaos Space Marine Codex comes out, you're going to have something very similar where you can have a character progress from being like an aspiring champion to a Chaos Lord, then maybe to a Demon Prince.
Yep, I think you're
That would make
absolutely
sense.
bang on the money with that.
Would that not make sense? Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. I mean, the notion that you could have like the history of a character or an entire army in miniatures form. It's brilliant.
Well,
I mean, in narrative terms, it's great. In marketing terms, it's genius because, of course, you're going to be buying like multiple miniatures. It makes a lot of sense.
Well, the thing that gets me is it allows whatever you have as a collection to have character.
Yep.
Every single thing that you have is suddenly able to have a complete backstory to it.
Right.
And
yeah.
That right there screams at me, and it's everything that I love. It's everything that I want out of a tabletop game.
Love it to bits. It's that perfect commingling of the RPG and the tabletop.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah, without getting bogged down in what an RPG rule set looks like.
My only proviso with all this stuff the Space Marines are getting, it's great. I love it. Everybody needs to have it.
Yes.
Not just the Space Marines. I don't want just the Space Marines to have these options. So if you can create like the Masters of Sanctity for the Space Marines, you should have an option in the Chaos Space Marine Codex to have a Master of the Faith for the Dark Apostle. Yeah? If not, I'll be upset. I'll be annoyed. I'll be honest.
I think it would be ridiculous if they didn't.
It would be, wouldn't it? It would be silly if they didn't. I can't imagine that they won't. Another thing that really surprised me, we got like the Heavy Intercessor squad. We got just the miniatures, which are, really cool for Space Marine players, really lovely. But we also got a look at their stats, and their stats are really weird. Their stats are they're cool, but they're really strange. Toughness 5 as standard with 3 wounds.
What?
These guys. Right? Right? This is a squad. These are not characters. This is a squad.
Yeah.
Toughness 5 with 3 wounds. That is mental.
It is, isn't it? Is that too much?
Well, I don't know. It depends on how Ninth Ed pans out.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It does feel, if these data sheets are anything to go by, it feels like everything is getting a step up.
Yeah.
Everything is going to be like... It looks like they're throwing everything at it and making it a bit more dynamic, a bit more fun. So people will be a bit more excited about what they're taking, yeah? Mm-hmm. So it's not just like the standard Space Marine stat line. It's suddenly, toughness 5. 3 wounds. These guys are going to have some staying power, yeah?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah.
One of the things I'm looking at this here now, the stat line and the rule set and everything. And have you noticed the faction keywords, right? So you've got Imperium, Adeptus, Astartes, Chapter.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, that kind of ties into something we were saying before about Imperium having a multitude without... Right. Brilliant. Okay. So then you've got an Infantry Corps, Primaris, Intercessors, Mark 10, Gravis, Heavy Intercessor
That's the
squad.
armor, yeah.
So you can have a keyword that's the armor. Okay.
That's interesting. So does that suggest that suggests to me that there are rules that apply specifically to Space Marines who wear this armor,
Or to other armors, or to there's something that can happen to another armor that isn't. Cause is everything a Mark 10 in the Primaris? It is, isn't it?
I don't know. If I'm honest, I'm not sure.
I'm sure all the armors are Mark 10, so I don't know
Right.
what Mark 10 Gravis is, what the difference is.
Right.
So I'm
Well, if you look at the
baffled by
guys,
that
they
one.
are definitely wearing different types of armor to
Yeah.
the other Primaris. It's different. It's much more bulky. It's like a mix between Terminator armor and standard line Space Marine infantry armor.
Yeah, actually, that's a good way of putting it.
It's got like this big collar that comes up. It looks a bit thicker. It looks like it has more more dense armor plating.
Yeah, the legs are thicker as well. It doesn't have the greaves look that the rest
Right.
of the Primaris have. It looks more
know
like
what's
an
happened.
old-fashioned Space Mariner leg.
Yeah,
doesn't
which is kind of interesting. Kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
That's interesting. Because I noticed that and just thought that's really weird.
Oh, hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. I had a bit of a blackout there.
Okay, no, not to worry. Andy, what do you think of these new chunky Marine boys?
They're Space Marines.
They're definitely that.
There's
They're
more of
definitely
them.
that.
It seems like it's just more filling out of the masses. At least there's no Primarch Lieutenant, so that's something.
No Primaris, no Primaris Lieutenant, yeah.
There seems to be some new mask designs as well. Slight changes to the helmets, which is nice.
Yep,
Yep.
that's cool. Make them a bit more distinct, a bit more interesting.
Yeah. But it just looks like it's just more of them, which is fine.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, it's just exactly what I was saying. I hope if they're throwing all of this at Space Marines, and given that they've thrown so much at the Necrons, I can't believe that it won't be the case. I just want every other army to have the same amount of attention paid to it.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I want.
Now, you could be whistling into the dark on that one, but I'm going to hope that that's not the case, and we're going to see lots of nice things happen with all of the armies.
Me too.
Do you know what I found really weird about the stream yesterday?
What's that?
No orcs.
No
I
orcs.
don't know why I was expecting orcs, but I really
Why?
expected,
Yeah, I was going to say.
I was really expecting them to mention the orcs codex.
It looks like the orcs are going to be a little later down the line, which
Yeah.
means, I mean, that suggests to me that they're putting like a bit more time into the miniatures range for them.
Well, I hope so, because if there's one range that desperately needs some new boys, it's the orcs. I mean, some of those.
The Eldari.
Yeah, absolutely, aye. But they're a dying race, so that they can wait.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, it did feel like with the 4 new announced codexes coming out as well, that they're just like, okay, these ones are done. We're just kind of pooping them out as quick as possible because we've already got the models for them all done.
We've
Don't
got
worry
the
about it.
miniatures
Like we
range,
said for the
yeah.
Death Guard.
Yeah,
I think that's it. I think that's exactly it. The reason it's these codices coming out now is because it's the easiest to do.
Yeah.
They don't have to like plug in as many gaps in the miniatures range. They can just get them out, get them done, and people can get playing.
I do.
Makes enormous sense.
I do want to say the storm speeders. Right?
Ah, yes, the new land speeders.
Yeah, I mean they look nice, you know.
They look fine. I mean, it's not, as I've said many times before, it's not my aesthetic, but then again, I'm not an Imperial player.
No, I love the guy sitting at the back with the either the twin sponsons or the twin missile
Yes.
launcher.
I mean,
batteries.
obviously, it's been done a million times already, but it's made to be supplanted into that cat meme, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Did you see the one where they replaced all the Space Marine heads with the cat face?
With the cat, yes, I did.
Yeah, it was good.
Yes, I did.
My question is more along the lines of where that guy's sitting. Is that a chair or is it a big swiveling area? Because if that's just a chair, all he has to do is turn really, really quickly and he snaps his own neck.
I would hope it's a big swiveling area. Otherwise, it also makes the guns a little suspect, doesn't it? They can only fire forward.
Yeah.
That would be a bit crap, wouldn't it?
Is it just me, right? Or is there a slight Tau aesthetic taking place in these things?
Oh, do you think they're sort of taking inspiration, the Imperium, from the filthy Xenos?
I mean, it's either that or we say that the designers keep making sure that the Space Marines have everything. But
There's that, yes.
We'll go down the in-universe lore of, I think that I think that Cole has a couple of towers that he whips every day to get information from.
What do you feel
Well-
makes it feel towy? What makes it feel towy to you? Is it
So-
the angles?
It's the angles at the front, then you've got what looks like human technology bolted on around it. Then you look at the missile launchers that are on the sides, they look very Tau.
Actually, the missile launchers do look quite tau.
And
they do look quite tau.
And then if you look at the curves running up from the wing to the circular neck breaker, and then back down to the wing on the other side.
The neck breaker.
There's a real tau look to that as well.
Ah, interesting.
I mean, or am I just or have I just been looking at it too much?
It's just the sheer amount of the damn things as well. I mean, how many different land speeders can you make? Mm-hmm. There are a lot. There are a hell of a lot. The Hammer Strike, the normal, the Storm Speeder Hail Strike. And what's the other one? The Thunder Strike.
Thunder Strike.
Yeah.
Oh, of course it's called the Thunder Strike. Of course
it is.
Now, the fun thing about the Thunder Strike is, if you look at it and the way it's painted and everything like that, right? Mm-hmm. And you've got the old thing of Transformers 40k crossovers.
Right.
Yeah, look, that's Soundwave. Soundwave and 40k right there.
Oh, like the War for Cybertron, the Siege Soundwave. Yeah, it is, isn't it?
If the War for Cybertron Soundwave was not bad, if he had a good design.
Yeah.
I loved him. I thought he was a brilliant toy.
He turned into a giant soap.
Yeah, soapish,
This actually looks like a vehicle that does something.
Tell me that doesn't look like Soundwave.
It kind of does.
I dare you.
Kind of does.
Which makes the Primaris Marines, the tapes, they're all going to get flung out of his chest. For the Emperor.
Soundwave would be a noise marine.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's very true.
That's what Soundwave would be.
Shall we move on to the Death Guard?
Sure. So
because I want to talk about Little Legs here.
So we got a slew, just like tasters of the new codices, and these are all coming before the end of the year, apparently.
Yeah.
Interesting. Most of them are Space Marines. In fact, all of them are Space Marines of one stripe or another.
Yeah.
But they're all rather interesting. So Blood Angels, that's kind of fun. Love the Blood Angels. One of my favourite Loyalist chapters, that's for damn sure. Space Wolves, fine, fun. Sons of Rust running around. We've got the Death Watch, which sounded... Did you hear what they said about the Death Watch?
I watched it, but I think at this point my migraine was killing me. So.
Well, it's a supplemental codex for the main Space Marine codex, so they can now take everything that the Space Marines can take. Everything. Okay. So you can have an entire Death Watch army. Rather than just being like a kill team thing.
Yeah.
Now you can apply the Death Watch aesthetic to anything that is in the Space Marine forces. Which is fun, yeah?
Yeah,
that's really fun. I'm hoping they do that with... I hope there's like a lore explanation for that in the codex. Maybe there's a big push on the anti-Xenos thing now because of the eruption of the Necrons and whatnot.
See, half a thought has appeared in my brain. I haven't quite finished it out yet, so I'll just keep talking in the vein, hope that it makes sense when I get to the end of the sentence. So the Death Watch have always been a world unto their own. They go off to do their own stuff. They have their own machines. They have their own weapons. They have their own specialist weapons in a lot of cases.
They're linked very closely to the Ordo Xenos, obviously.
Yeah. You outside of the little ribbon on your shoulder, you are Death Watch, no matter what.
That's right.
You came
from. They're drawn from members of all the other chapters. Mm-hmm. And they still often have little bits of iconography of the other chapters to show their heritage. But they give up, they surrender their affiliation to their home chapters and to their traditions. Mm-hmm. And their entire creed is the anti-Xenos thing of the Death Watch after that.
So how does that work with Primaris?
Right, yeah. Interesting.
Are you just taking Primaris that have been around for 100 years and then saying, right, we'll have you, off you come? Or are Primaris Marines being made to go straight into the Death Watch?
Yeah. So is there like a pure Death Watch now?
Yeah.
Where it's, where they haven't had a chance to affiliate with any particular chapter. Interesting.
I need to know the answer to that one because
I'm fascinated. I thought it's an interesting change to the fluff. It makes sense. It does make sense. I'd be interested in reading that codex. I want to know.
Yeah, I'm really up for reading that now. I've kind of talked myself into wanting to read up some Death Watch.
It's also fascinating to me that the Space Wolves are now a supplemental codex.
Yeah.
Well, I think every chapter is going to be a supplemental.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the idea. That's the plan.
Yeah. But that's fascinating, isn't it? Because traditionally, they've always been so divergent that they've always been their own thing.
Yeah. I suppose it's how much detail do the supplements go into? We don't.
That's
quite
right. I
know.
mean, the supplements, I imagine, will just have things like, obviously they'll have the background, but in rules terms, all they'll really have is the stuff that makes the chapters unique. So they'll have like the entries for things like the Wolfen and the rune priests and all that kind of thing. But it works for Space Wolf players because it means that they'll have access to pretty much everything from the core codex as well.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. But then you've got the puzzle of the Death Guard. Because technically, the Death Guard are a divergent of the Chaos Space Marines. So, you might have thought that there'd be a core Chaos Space Marine Codex first, and then the Death Guard as a supplement. But it's actually...
I thought that, but then a thought occurred to me.
Mm.
Is it that all of the Chaos Space Marine chapters are going to be so divergent from each other that you can't have a singular Chaos Space Marine?
I think what's going to happen is you'll have your core Chaos Space Marine Codex at some point.
Yeah.
But it will only be what we call the undivided chapters.
Yeah.
Or legions, and the Renegades
you'll have
as well.
Codex Black Legion, and that's
right.
what they'll use to jumpstart that.
That's it. And then there'll be a supplement, won't there? There'll be
Yeah.
a supplement for each of the legions. But the big, like what we call the cult legions, the ones that are really divergent because they're dedicated to a particular chaos god, I imagine each of them will have their own standalone codex eventually.
Yeah.
That would be my guess.
Yeah.
I'd be inclined to agree with that.
And the Death Guard, I mean, as we said before, the Death Guard make a lot of sense as a standalone codex because they are so massively divergent that it would be very difficult to carry over. And also, their miniatures range is pretty much complete.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really need there's nothing that actually needs updating. There are only things that need adding in. And we've got this guy. We've got this new miniature who we've seen in multiple different... rumor engines, by the way, multiple different rumor engines.
Yeah.
We've seen the Power Fist, and we've seen the pipes on his back,
and the cloak, if I remember as well, right?
We've seen the cloak, yes, the cloak of tendrils and whatnot.
Yeah, everyone thought it was a Tyrannid.
Everyone thought it was Dark Mechanicus. That's what everyone
right.
was
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
They were saying it was Dark Mechanicus. What
Didn't
he
they show his
is,
gun
and that,
as well? Didn't they show like
I
5 or 6
think-
rumors for him in total or
Yes.
something weird?
yeah, and it's all the one miniature. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's a Lord of Virulence, which apparently is the Death Guard equivalent of like a tech priest.
Oh, really? Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, but hence the cloak that looks like the mecha tendrils from a Lord Discordant.
Yeah.
There's a nice little bit of sort of symbolic overlap there. He's going to be a buffer for demon engines, which makes a lot of sense because the Death Guard have a whole slew of their own unique demon engines.
They do. They really do. The sheer amount of vehicles and engines that they've got now is unreal.
Yeah, there's loads because they also have access to a lot within the core Chaos Space Marine Codex. So
Yeah,
you've got
yeah.
like the Defilers, and they don't have Forge Fiends and. No, they don't have Forge Fiends and Mauler Fiends. They don't have access to them. Thousand Suns do, but the Death Guard don't. They've got. Do they have Helldrakes?
I think so.
I can't remember whether they have Helldrakes or not, but they definitely have Defilers.
Yeah.
And then they also have the Death Guard specific ones like Mephitic Blight Haulers, the Blight Launcher things. I can't remember what they're called. The mortar tank things. Plague Burst Crawlers is what they're called. Plague Burst Crawlers.
I have thought multiple times now how good it would be to have an entirely mechanical Death Guard army.
Well, if you get the War of the Spider, there's a whole a Victoria dedicated to that.
Yep.
A whole Victoria, and they're infected with the Rust Plague, which is kind of fun. But he's great. He's a great miniature. He's really fun. He's very, 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 very Death Guard. Very characterful. Wearing cataphracti armor, which is nice.
Yeah, and has tiny legs.
Tiny. Well, I don't know whether he has tiny legs or whether it's like the way the miniature's being like photographed that makes it look that way?
It's the pose that they've shot him in, and the sheer size of his shoulders and top. It makes his legs look tiny, but I think it looks cute. I like his little legs just rolling around the floor. I also at the back. I hope that there's a Nurgling playing those pipes like an organ, like a Hammond organ.
Brilliant. No, he's fun. He's very much in the style of the present day Death Guard. Very much.
Although he isn't. If you look at him, he isn't actually in the style of the present day Death Guard. It's really interesting. They've pulled back on a lot of the.
They have
the
pulled back. He's not
and
quite as elaborate, is he?
No,
he's not quite as elaborate.
There's a lot more mechanical to him, which fits for who he is.
Makes sense.
There's not as much of the organic bursting through the armor, which I quite like.
Is that not like his tummy coming through just underneath his plate?
Yes, that's his belly. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's easing through. Did you also see in the wider shots where they were showing him with the rest of the Death Guard, there seems to be a bit of terrain for the Death Guard?
Yeah.
Plague furnace or something?
The thing that I've started calling the nutsack tunnel.
That's pretty much what it looks like,
yeah. It's surprising how much that does look like a giant furnace made out of demon nutsacks.
Right. I mean, I imagine pretty much every army is going to have its own piece of terrain.
Yeah, I mean, it's something they've been doing in
AOS, so it makes sense.
In AOS, so yeah.
I mean, you can't. It's in the demons, isn't it? The feculent Gnarlmore, the tree, the Nurgle tree. That's a piece of terrain.
It is, I think that was.
Isn't it? I thought that was a piece of terrain for I know it's in AOS, I know it's in the Maggotkin, but I thought they introduced rules to so you can use it in Nurgle demon armies as well.
Oh, they might have done actually, yeah. But I think it
there's no
came out with
reason.
the Maggot King.
Right. King. Yeah, but there's no reason why you shouldn't really be able to port that over to the Death Guard, because it is very Death Guard as well.
Oh, massively, yeah. Unfortunately, mine was done up to look like an undead tree. So because I can't.
But no, he's nice. I can't imagine there's going to be many more releases for the Death Guard.
No,
I don't think so. I really don't think so.
Because it's a very complete miniatures range. In fact, I'd say it's one of the most complete in 40k, because there's a model for everything.
Yeah, everything's there. Everything's on the table. You can.
In fact, if you look at some of the limited releases, there are actually multiple models for different unit entries.
Mm-hmm.
There are several different Death Guard sorcerers. There are several different Lords of Contagion knocking about out there. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, interesting. But it is fascinating that they've gone with the Death Guard for the first Chaos release this time round.
As I say, I think it's purely to get it out the way.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Does,
I mean,
really
the Thousand Sons, as much as I would love to see them, they need a lot more work. The Thousand Sons, love them to bits, and they played well in 8th Ed, but they need more units.
Yeah, definitely.
They just need more unique stuff. They need their own unique demon engines. Mm-hmm. They need a few more like HQ choices to make them fly, to make them work. And they need a bit more consideration into like how they manifest on the tabletop. So hopefully they'll be getting that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. And here's my next question for you. So they've been really good in getting these streams out to show different things. They didn't. There's been no mention of when the next one's going to be, as far as I'm aware, anyhow.
Not yet.
For the rest of this year, what could they even begin to do? Because we now know what codexes are coming out between now and the end of the year.
Have you read on just underneath the
Nova stuff?
Well, no. There's a little suggestion that the Dark Angels are going to be early in 2021.
Oh. Okay, so they could start building up the hype for that.
Yeah.
So would that be? Will they have the? I mean, suggesting that, I guess it would mean that they'd have more unique things rather than just be a supplement codex.
They are a supplement according to this. It is a codex supplement, but it will probably be a big one because the Dark Angels have a fair few unique bits and pieces to add in. The Knights and whatnot. So the Raven Wing, obviously, the whole entirety of the Raven Wing and the Death Wing are kind of unique units. So it's going to be quite a big supplement, that one. Yeah. Second Chaos Codex. Yay!
I'm just reading this thing here as well. Grey Knights will not be using the Codex Space Marines. They'll be getting their own codex.
Oh, now that's interesting.
So
That's interesting.
it says here, as a chapter of Psychers created to prosecute the extermination of demons above all else, the Grey Knights are the only complete, unique founding of the Adeptus Astartes and find it in a manner quite unlike any other Space Marines.
Okay.
The Grey Knights are therefore the only chapter who won't be using the Codex Space Marines as their core faction book.
The only chapter.
Yeah.
Now that's fascinating. That's
isn't it?
fascinating. I mean, when they say chapter, I mean, I imagine things like the Adeptus Custodes are not included in that because they're their own thing, you know?
Yeah.
I would guess, anyway. I would assume. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
And, of course, Imperial Armor's out.
Oh, yeah. So all your Forge World stuff can be usable in 9th Ed. That's fun. That's nice. I imagine... I mean, forgive me, but I imagine it's going to be a kind of get-you-by thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to be like that dedicated. It's just so you can use your miniatures in 9th Ed.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Although
Which is fine.
I did enjoy. I always forget the poor guy's name. The guy with the beard. that does
The guy with the beard.
that does the stream.
Wow. Works at GW with a beard.
Yeah.
That does not narrow it down.
He did the stream yesterday. The main host of the stream. His name always goes out my head. I did like how excited he got over the fact there was 192 entries in Imperial Armor.
So
Yeah, it is everything. So
it's it's basically everything in one tome, yeah?
Yeah, so I just want to point out that now that you've got that out the way, right? So Imperial Armor Compendium's been done, right? Okay, right? We know Horus Heresy is starting to wind down now, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Can we have some AOS stuff, please, on a Forge World?
No.
Probably not.
Yeah. It's not a big seller.
I don't give two damns if it's a big seller or not.
It does feel like Forge World itself is kind of winding down, doesn't it? Like it's being incorporated into like the main production cycle.
I think that since they've opened up this new factory, and now that's going to start. I mean, is that up and running now? I think it's up and running as of now. I think we're going to see less and less Forge World.
I think so too.
I think that it'll get it'll get withdrawn into GW as a whole. And that's how they're going to do the old world. I think it's going to be done with the Forge World teams, but within GW it won't be Forge World. Because I can't see how you can do a mass battle game using nothing but Forge World.
Right.
It's the price is it's unreal. It's unrealistic.
It's prohibitive, isn't it? It's massively prohibitive. Yeah.
I mean, people did try doing it with the Horus Heresy game. Bless them.
They did.
Yeah,
bless their
true.
hearts.
Very true.
And of course, I mean, the whole thing about Forge World when it first came out was that it was the stuff that wasn't realistically producible on a mass scale or usable within the main game system. You know, without it being narrative. Now, of course, you can do that. Within the main game system, so its purpose is diminishing significantly.
Its purpose is vague. That's the problem with Forge World at the moment. It's because they do stuff for Blood Bowl, but then GW does stuff for Blood Bowl. And then you kind of sit there, well, why is Forge World doing more expensive stuff for Blood Bowl when Games Workshop itself is doing loads of stuff for Blood Bowl?
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, some of the products from Forge World are amazing. I mean, I've got some of the big leather-bound Horus Heresy books they are sublimely beautiful.
Yeah, and
they're
in no way
tomes.
am I belittling or denying anything that Forge World does. Yeah,
no,
it's just
its place, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's its purpose, and its place is a little confusing and a little difficult to sort of discern.
It is.
I totally get that.
I mean, it annoys me that Forge World has a couple of Stormcast heads and some leftover parts from Fantasy Battle in their AOS section. You know, it's
right.
Come on, that's ridiculous. You've actually taken stuff out of the AOS area as well. You know, because the Fimir have gone.
I mean, irony of ironies, AOS could have been the perfect jumping on point for Forge World to really get involved in fantasy, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Because in Fantasy Battle, it always struggled because of the scale of the thing. You couldn't introduce anything that was that too big; it wouldn't work. You know.
Yeah.
Now there are god beasts and there are like star monsters and gods and things. They could just go nuts now if they wanted to.
The actual thing I was thinking is, why isn't Forge World doing the God Beasts?
Right. I mean, the god beasts themselves would be very difficult because they are like
Gods,
they're like terrain.
Yeah,
But, when you look at them, they're like living continents, you know?
Yeah.
But there are things they could do. They're like the spawn of the star dragons that are much bigger than the main ones, stuff like that. There's no reason why they can't do stuff like that. And they could just go nuts because the AOS realms are just so massive and open.
Yeah. I truly don't understand. Yeah. Why isn't there undead giants coming out of Forge World? Why has the boat, the boat zombie giant from Total War, the Vampire Coast, not been done by Forge World?
That would be cool. That would be cool.
It's stuff like this. I physically don't understand why this isn't happening.
I think reasonably soon you will see a sort of collapsing of Forge World into the main production cycle very soon. Which
would be sad, because Forge World in as of itself is a really cool thing to see.
It's a very cool idea, yeah. The notion that there's like something producing stuff that's a bit off the wall, not part of the main system.
I mean, I've got loads of Necromunda stuff from them. It's Necromunda was the perfect place for Forge World because you got characters and designs and things that you wouldn't get from the plastic kits.
Yeah, right.
But then you think about it and go, well, why aren't these plastic kits?
Yes, yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? That's the point. Why aren't they now? These days, why aren't they? And why are there, vastly superior, bigger plastic kits now?
Because we've kind of moved away from the point where resin's the modeler's choice. Obviously, there are a lot of people out there who like working with resin. It is almost a point of pride, I think, if you can work with resin and do something good with it. If you can build some of these kits, you are top-notch modeler. Fantastic, well done. But in all honesty, why are we still doing it? I don't quite get it. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird to me. It's not like it's any cheaper to make resin than it is to make plastic now.
Right.
Now that we're all CAD modelling and everything, so it's bizarre.
Yeah, it's a fair point. But yeah, I mean, generally, what did you guys think of the stream yesterday? Like on a general level.
Well, I mean, outside of the abject pain I was in, it was.
Yes,
really good
fun. I'm gonna. I think, Adam, you were laid up, weren't you? So, probably not the best question to ask you. But what about you, Andy? How did you find it?
Well, since I didn't watch it live, I just kind of saw the after effects.
Oh, you just sort of right. Well, I did watch it live. I watched it as a break from my usual scribbling and writing and whatnot. And I've got to say, it was one of the best. It was just one of the best because it was so much fun. There was so much going on. They packed in so much stuff that they were getting told off by the moderators, which was brilliant, Yeah, that's the way they should definitely keep doing it. Just pack as much in as you can because it makes it exciting. It makes it dynamic. It means they're not trying to sort of pad it out synthetically.
I do have to take a second just to say that the animations they did were absolutely
fun.
Super.
Yeah. Loved them.
I know you said about the Coal one being your favourite. I loved the Necron one. I loved the idea of the Necron Lord being this just put upon...
Yes, bored and sort of like...
fed up individual.
Oh, God. It's that whole line, oh, they're back, my lord.
They're back, and now their tanks float.
Really? Yeah.
Back and now their tanks float.
I love that.
I hope that they do more of them, because... They properly brought a smile to me. What they reminded me of is, do you remember the whichever Warhammer Fantasy Battle it was? I want to say 5th, and in the corners you had these little cartoons.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, where like a cold one had done a poo and another one was sniffing it.
Yeah, a troll was vomiting on someone and reducing them to bones. Yeah, that kind of thing.
They were really bright and colourful and very cartoony. It reminded me of that. It had that kind of sense of humour to it, and I really enjoyed seeing it.
It was fun. It was fun. It was just well done. They're kind of hitting their stride, I think, with these things now.
I agree. I totally agree.
And I'm wondering, like, what they're going to do with them, like you were saying, Adam, between now and Christmas, because they've actually kind of shown us a lot.
Yeah, and we're starting to see stuff come out now from ones that we had earlier on in the year, like much earlier on in the year from the first and second. That's only coming out now.
Right.
Yeah, so what can they do? I mean, anything they show now, it's going to have to be for stuff that's coming out early next year.
Right,
And
yeah.
that's a difficult one to do because the early part of next year could be a very difficult time to get stuff out in.
Right,
For a multitude of reasons. So, from a business point of view, can you really start waving the flag on stuff that's going to be out early next year?
Hard to say.
I think they'll probably try and do like a smaller stream to boost sales up for just before Christmas to like push some extra stuff, and maybe there's a few like a character or like a character piece or something maybe coming out before now and then. Just a little push for Christmas, just to give something else potentially for new people or old people.
What I think would be a good idea is to do a lore-heavy one where you're talking about the insides of the books. You're talking about the I mean, we know that there's a couple of novels coming between now and the end of the year, which look really interesting. Getting into that kind of thing, talking to the authors, talking to Black Library guys, talking to the people. I mean, do you guys know about Blood Quest? Because that one slipped me by until this morning.
Blood Quest?
Yeah, you know that Demonifuge got a complete redo.
Oh yeah.
They're doing the same with Blood Quest.
Oh, wow,
Okay,
really?
Yeah.
Blood Quest was great. Blood Quest was great fun. I'm kind of pleased about that.
Absolutely.
Are they going to be colouring it as well?
I don't know.
Probably. I guess since they did that with Demon Fuge.
Yeah.
I'd assume they're gonna, aren't they? Yeah.
Which they did such an amazing work with the colouring on Demonifuge that I'm not going to complain about that. But yeah, I mean that one slipped me right by, and I just went.
No,
oh!
I've never. I did not. I had no idea.
I mean,
not the first
And
clue.
do you know what comes out this week on pre-order?
No.
The Bandai Marines.
Oh, yes, the action figures.
So they're out on pre-order this coming week.
Cool.
As are the rest of the Lumineth.
Oh, the Lumineth. Oh, yeah, of course. The Realm Lords, yeah.
Including my favourite Lumineth, the elf that thinks he's a slan.
Oh, yeah, the one that's sitting, like, cross-legged.
Yeah, I've never seen a squat elf before. It's quite weird. It's
This will be one of the very first, like, high elf style books that I buy.
If I were to go down the Lumineth route, right? I'm not saying I'm going to, but if I did, I would remove all of their heads and put the cow bits from the top of the hats in place of their heads and have cow people.
Cow people wandering around. Why not? Why not?
I would call them calves.
I mean, I'm not interested in collecting them, but I like their background. I want to know. I kind of want to know what's going on with them.
Have you had any look at the book yet?
No.
I'm not spoiling anything for you. Get the book. The book is good. The book.
Is it really good? Yeah.
There are parts of that book that I need you to read so we can examine them in excruciating detail.
Okay.
Because
intriguing.
They've taken the idea of the Eldari. They've reintroduced it, regurgitated it, made it better, made it more interesting, and they've done something which has left the door wide open where, fucking hell, if I'm right, then I feel bad for everything bad I've ever said about Teclis.
Okay.
All I'm going to say is I don't believe Teclis is real.
Okay.
And I'm going to leave it there. I don't think he's real.
That's interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I don't think he's real. I don't think Teclis exists.
Okay.
So, moving on. Before we get closed, shall we do a competition winning?
Yeah, why not?
So, as always, what we're going to do here is I've got a couple of entries for the old Deadeyes, the Lord of Oozes, that was donated to us from Kraken Games. And the question was, we wanted a Chaos God of the Fluffenhammer.
I remember this one.
This should have been done a while back, but with one thing and another, and we've been off for 2 weeks. We haven't been able to get to it. So, as always, we score each one out of 5 and then see who's got the biggest score at the end.
Okie dokes.
Has everybody got something to write on?
Yes.
Andy, why were you so angry about having something to write on?
Because writing is the thing of the dark gods.
I'm sure that's not true. Okay, then. So, to begin with, Sean Duffy says, this is very difficult to say. I think it's pronounced Chiter Master. Or Chiter Natter. There we go. Yes, that'd be Chiter Natter. The force of random chat and off-topic discussion.
That makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, just for the sheer aptness of that, I would give it a high score.
This is out of 10, is it?
Out of 5.
Out of 5, okay.
Yeah. We have Richard Sharpo Sharp says, the tanned gent, a creature of distraction and discord. It takes the form of a flayed man who is both charismatic but forever misdirecting and misleading you from the object of your desire.
Ha! 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 Yeah, like that.
Nick Davidson says, Bojo, god of arrogance.
Oh, God. Oof.
Tim Montgomery says, Mr. Belvedere, a prim and...
All right.
A prim and proper dandy that looks down on and mocks all other Chaos gods, but also can't help but look out for humanity.
I like that.
And then, I think finally, we have Alan John Wilkinson. Once this opens. Here we go. I can only assume that... That's weird. Okay, I think Alan John Wilkinson has deleted his actual his answer. Oh well.
Oh no.
So
no.
So that's what we've got. We've got those ones.
Okay.
So number 1 by Sean Duffy. What did everyone score it? I scored it a 3.
I gave that one a 3 myself. Yes, just for aptness. I thought it was really apt. You know.
Okay.
I gave it a 4 because I thought it was appropriate for the Fluffenhammer.
All right.
Yeah, very appropriate.
So Sean gets a 10. And the second one, I gave it a 5. So
Yeah,
I really like the
second
tangent.
one. Yeah, I gave the second one a 5.
And I was a 3.
Oh. Mm-hmm. And the third one, I gave it a 3.
I gave it a 2.
And I gave it a 4 because I had this imagining of George being chased around by a giant clown.
All right,
Pushed it for me.
and then number 4.
Number 4, I gave a 4.
A 4. Yeah. Andy?
I gave a 2.
A 2. And I gave it a 3. So I think then that's Richard Sharpo Sharp wins with the tanned gent.
Yeah, I think so. The tanned gent, yeah. Also for the pun, obviously.
Yes, absolutely.
You know? Extra marks for the pun.
I was really impressed with that one. So, Richard
Yeah.
Sharpo Sharp, you've won. I will either get in contact with me or I'll get in contact with you and we will get you your prize sent to you.
Superb.
So, with all that being said, we are pretty much done.
Yeah, I think
yes.
so.
So then, guys, who wants to say first where people can find you if they so wished to go out into the great wide world and discover your works?
Andy, you want to go first?
No, you go. You go.
Okay, fair enough. You can find me in the usual places, guys. ExaggeratedElegy.com at YouTube. You can find all sorts of stuff there. My published work you can find at StrangePlaygrounds.com and on the Evil Empire of Amazon, short story collections and stuff. Several articles at the moment on the Ginger Nuts of Horror, some of them 40k based. And if you want to chat, just come and have a chat. It's Enigmatic Elegy on Twitter.
I really enjoyed the stuff in Ginger Nuts.
Oh, did you like it?
Yeah,
I'm
really,
doing
really
like
enjoyed that.
horror in 40k and AOS, basically.
I thought
There's going to be some surprising entries.
I thought the Necron entry was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed reading that.
Well, it seemed appropriate. It seemed appropriate. And they are horror in 40k. You know, they're what I like about them is they're a very specific species of horror in 40k. So their horror is very different from like the demons or from the Tyranids or whatever. And that's going to be the fun, drawing the distinction.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I'm looking forward to see what you do next and where we go on this little ride. So Andy, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter as CCTFW, on YouTube as Scrubber Commander TFW. You can find my podcast, Moonbase 2, on lots of places where I talk about Transformers and other didgeridoos. And you can also find me on Twitch as CCTFW as well.
Excellent stuff.
Superb.
You can find the Fluffenhammer at Twitter at the Fluffenhammer, on Instagram at the Fluffenhammer. You can find us at our Discord server, which you can find in the credits and notes below this very show, no matter where you get it from. You can find us on Patreon. I'm going to say that again. Patreon. I know it's Patreon, but I quite like saying it like I was in the Fast Show. Patreon. Where we have a ton of stuff for you to enjoy. Where else can you find us? YouTube and anywhere that you pick up your podcatchers, which, of course, you are now listening to us on. So don't bother looking there again, because you've already found us there. Look in other places. Well done.
You never know where we might be hiding.
We're under your bed. All three of us. Just sitting there, having a picnic.
There's the title of the episode. We're under your bed.
We're under your bed, having a picnic. Which it sounds like something out of Life on Mars.
Right.
1973, almost in a time. I'm having oops. Yes, so that's all the places you can find us. You can find us also inside a copy of 1995's Necromunda. Don't believe us? Go inside, have a look. So, with all that being said, we are going to get out of here. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you, Georgian